For those of you who are just here for the nitty-gritty, let me give you the TLDW. You have functional speakers, but the foam is falling apart. Remove the foam, you'll probably need a screwdriver, a knife, some isopropyl alcohol, and a Costco amount of Q-tips. Buy yourself some new foam, but make sure to measure because speaker size and design varies. Remember what Teddy Roosevelt said, measure twice, Amazon once. Glue the outside rim of the foam to the speaker frame or basket. Glue the inside rim of the foam to the cone. Wait for it to dry. Add some more glue and put the gasket back on if you bothered to keep it. And you're done.
Show. It's not a regular series though, just a one-off video about how to fix a stereo, teaching you things that you need to know. It's John's how-to show. It's not a regular series though, just a one-off video about how to fix your stereo. In case you need to know, it's John's how-to show.
Hey, how's it going? I'm John Rail, and this is kind of our professional idiot's guide to speaker foam repair. Now, our goal is to go from this to this. But in order to do that, step one, we got to remove the actual speakers from the speaker cabinets. Now, sometimes this can be a little finicky and difficult, especially if you're dealing with older vintage speakers. So get a wrench, but if it looks like it's not going to give, because I've had some old speakers that just didn't want to let go, and I was like, I just brought the whole cabinet over and I repaired the speaker anyway. But luckily these came out very nicely. First things first, we are gonna rip out the foam, which should not be too hard because the foam was already coming apart, as you can see. And in order to get the foam completely off, we are gonna need to remove the gaskets. Now, gaskets, for the most part, are quasi-useless. They're said to protect the foam from getting squished or whatever, but I've seen gaskets that are literally just flat pieces of paper, so it's more of an aesthetic thing. But in this case, I think we can definitely save these gaskets. And I'm not a form over function guy, but if I can have form and function, why the hell not? I'll spend the extra few minutes carefully prying things. Keep in mind this gets very messy and grody very quickly, so have a lot of paper towels or newspapers or whatever on hand. Oh, and before anybody says anything, yes, these are shitty consumer Sony speakers that didn't even retail for $200 back in their heyday. I know. I'm just trying to prevent myself from falling down a techno sunk cost rabbit hole that eventually ends up in me spending $1,200, $2,000 if I'm being honest, on brand new speakers. So for now, I'm just gonna spend $40 on some new foam and glue and 6 to 8 hours of labor, 12 to 24 hours of waiting for glue to dry. Plus, it's never about how good the speaker actually sounds. It's about how good the speaker sounds like it sounds. Okay, now I'll get to the rest of the gaskets later, but I just want to show you some up close of removing the foam. It can be pretty grody. There's some foam I've dealt with older speakers where you just had to cut your losses and just glue right on top of it. But this stuff has mostly been coming up. Now, you don't need to make it perfect. It doesn't have to be brand new clean, because after all, you're just going to be gluing new foam right on top of it. But the way it's usually done is a bunch of Q-tips and a little bit of alcohol. And no matter how much you do this, no matter how long you do it, it's always going to be a little bit on there. So don't even worry, nobody's ever going to see it. Now, because I care about you guys so much and because I love my co-producers here, I've already baked a cake. So we have a fresh, clean speaker with no more foam on it. Now it's time to add our new foam. Now, for this step, some people will glue up the outside rim and the inside rim and literally just slap it on top, which is fine because, again, these are going in a speaker cabinet. Nobody's ever really going to see them. Who cares? But I like to do the thing where I put the foam where the foam originally was, which is on top of the frame and underneath the cone. It takes a little more time and effort, especially when you're gluing it, but it's not that complicated. Now, for the speaker, and when I say speaker, I mean powered speaker, qua speaker, not this guy, which is a passive receiver. So if you've ever opened up a speaker cabinet and you see that one of your speakers is not actually a speaker, you didn't get ripped off. That's by design. It's a passive receiver, which I I have the definition below here, and I've looked it up several times and had several videos of people explaining to me what it is, but I'm still not educated enough to tell you what it is. But for the actual speaker, you want to be very careful. You want to leave the speaker in the exact position that it needs to be in. Otherwise, listen to this. If you glue wrong, if it's a little bit to one side or the other, it's gonna catch on the side, it's gonna make bad noises, and it's just not gonna work the way a speaker should work. So there are some people who will literally cut open the dust cover and shim it so that the speaker doesn't move at all, but you're adding more steps, more processes, and it's just more risk. So I am not gonna do that. I am just gonna glue the outer rim in place, let that dry, then glue the inner rim and let it dry as it wants to be. Now, first step in the outer rim is getting it nice and even. And in order to do that, I use the screw holes as sort of a guide. And then I grab some clothespins, or C47, as you cool Hollywood kids might say. Now, when it comes to glue, you can actually buy speaker glue. They actually sell glue specifically for this process, but I know a lot of speaker professionals who've just always ever used Aleene's tacky glue. And that has worked fine for me in the past for other speaker projects I've done, so that's what I'm gonna use. Plus, you can sometimes find it at the dollar store. Okay, now don't be afraid of getting a little liberal with the glue, because you want this foam to stay attached and you wanna create a nice tight seal all the way around. And also, don't worry, this stuff dries clear. Give it kind of last looks, make sure it's nice and mostly even. Again, this part isn't super important compared to the center part, which I'm gonna do later because, again, I love my co-producers and I've already baked a cake. First of all, just to show you, it does dry clear, and I already went over it with some more glue. But now what we're gonna do is add some glue between the cone and the foam. So to do that, I'm just gonna add a layer of glue, just one constant layer, and go all the way around. And in fact, to see where I'm starting and where I'm ending, we'll just throw that on there, a little friendly guide. Nice. And then kind of bounce it in place. When I do the actual speakers, this is going to be an important step for me to make sure that it's moving nicely the way it should move. In order to have this dry in place, I'm going to put just a little bit of weight on top of it and let that set there for, I'm probably going to leave it all night. But in the meantime, we can also add our gaskets. Now, as I said, gaskets are kind of superfluous, but they look way nicer than no gaskets, so why not? And again, feel free to get liberal because this stuff dries clear and it's easy to clean up, and it's better in the long run to add a little too much than too little. And I want to make sure that is nice and center with the screwdriver hole. Yeah, it's a shame. There's a lot of people who just toss out their speakers because they see like, oh man, the foam looks all crummy, so therefore speaker's done, and you can easily repair the foam. The rest I have no clue about, so don't ask. But actually, good question for the comments. If you can think of another easy to fix thing on speakers, let me know. Maybe I'll do a video on it when my speakers continually break. And call me a hipster, but I kind of like the look of like old school wood speakers, Plus, if you want to hide your drug money in the most obvious spot ever, you got that space available. Okay, so that's mostly done. And like I said, I'm gonna come back after this is all dry, and I'm gonna go to the back and I'm gonna add more glue. And actually, just for kicks, I can show you a little step of that. Again, with the actual speaker, you don't wanna mess around with too much movement or anything. But with passive reflector, it's not a big deal. So I'll just show you guys just for kicks. And pro tip, you should always keep some small disposable brushes on hand. Just like they come in handy way more than you think they will. Because like most of this process would be fine without a brush, but when you want to get back here, all right. So this guy, again, leave a little bit of pressure on and just let it set for the next, full day or whatever I feel like. And we are pretty much done. As you can see, it's got a nice tight seal all the way around. And that is how you repair speaker foam, or I guess I should say replace speaker foam, since you're throwing the old foam out, bring a new foam in. That is how you do that, and only that. I don't know anything else about speakers. But if you have any suggestions or questions, or maybe notes on how I could do it better next time, please let me know in the comments below. but for now, thank you for watching.
Okay, for you like-minded nerds, here's some before and after audio tests. Now, there is a little bit of white noise coming, but I kept it very short, so if you're really interested, keep your finger near the pause button. And if you just have this playing in the background, it won't ruin your day, so enjoy. Thank you for watching. I hope you had your ad blocker turned on because this video is not sponsored. As some of you know, I used to work for a living. At one point a few years ago, I was working 50-hour weeks for the Modern Rogue and had to shut down my Patreon and stop producing my own projects. A long story later, and I have some free time to produce a lot of my own videos again, so if you want to see a try-hard filmmaker create tutorials, sketch comedy, and yes, science and skepticism that pushes back on the toxic optimism that has caused the current decline in education and downfall of so many businesses, then you should become a patron. Or if you want to support but need something a little more tangible than perks, swing by my eBay store where I have some strange items and cool gear I've acquired over the years, including some Modern Rogue memorabilia. Thanks for watching.
This was the first ever speaker I repaired. They are realistic Radio Shack speakers. When I got them, of course, they were super old, so I noticed the foam was falling apart. And I figured, you know what, I'll try to repair them. And sure enough, it was easy enough. I repaired them, same way I just showed you. I love these guys. These are my main computer speakers that I use to edit all the Modern Rogue episodes. Not that I edit all of them, but all the edits that you get what I mean.